Guardians, what is up? So in today's video, we're going to be discussing about the ritual playlist in Destiny 2. So if you're not familiar with what ritual playlist is, that's going to be Vanguard Ops, or what used to be called the Vanguard Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit. And we're going to be going over some improvements that need to happen in these particular modes. Some improvements are already in the making, PvP for example, but like stuff like Gambit has been kind of to the wayside, and I feel Vanguard does need some vast improvements to make it more viable of a actual playlist to want to jump into. So we're going to talk about some improvement. Now just keep in mind, these are going to be my opinions. It's kind of what I feel would make it more viable, more rewarding for the players in the community to want to jump into these activities and want to play in them. So keep that in mind. But at the same time, once you guys watch the full video, I would like to hear you guys opinion on some of these improvements, shall I say, for the ritual playlist. So I would like that input in the comments. So let's get into it. So to kick things off, we're going to break the video down into separate parts. We're going to go over rewards overall, how to make these activities more rewarding, and go over that first. And then we're going to break down each individual ritual activity, what can be made better in modes and things of that nature. So we're going to start that way. So we're going to get into rewards first. So in the ritual activities, we've gone through, say, probably maybe 2 iterations of how we were rewarded within these activities. At first, it was to be getting like your powerful, your pinnacle to level up. And being that Bungie has changed the structure of power leveling in the game and primarily keeping everybody at the pinnacle power level throughout the seasons and not making anybody grind to a higher power level to do said seasonal activity. Now we're in a system where you can play whatever activity you want and you can get exotic engrams. Now, for a new player, that can be a very good thing. For us players who've been playing the game for quite some time, you know, yeah, you can focus in and probably get a better god roll on said exotic armor piece or anything like that. But for the most part, if you've been playing the game for a long time, the exotic engrams are kind of, kind of useless a little bit. So with rewards in the game, I feel like from the past events that we've had, or the past like holiday events or special events we've had in the game, mementos have been the thing that a lot of us have been grinding for, to put on our crafted weapons to give them a different look. And I know that with trials, GMs, and Gambit, you do have respected mementos that are for those activities. But we've had the same mementos for quite some time, and I think that with mementos we need to double down on it, because it seems to be a thing that people do like in the game. Let's give it some more variety in the game for people to achieve and get mementos for weapons. And so I think that should be a bigger change, or more doubling down on mementos should be one thing that we should add more emphasis on in rewards. The other thing is, back in the days of Forsaken, Bungie did experiment with legendary weapon ornaments, and those ornaments were for certain weapons. And I feel like that should be more of a thing, whereas this kind of more leans into the other thing I'm about to say. Exotic ornaments for weapons in the game that can be unlocked by doing said bounties on the ornament itself. Kind of look at it more on the lines of how we unlock catalyst. You have to do a said thing, pretty much a bounty on the weapon to unlock the catalyst. Let's do that in regards to exotic weapons, even the ones we have currently in Eververse. Now, I know the thing with Eververse is I don't have a problem with the collab stuff we have to pay for out of pocket, but the stuff that is kind of represented to themes or concepts from any game, I feel like those should be for us to be able to unlock those by doing said thing. For example, you know, getting a special trials ornament on a weapon that's available, and you have to go into trials and use that weapon, do whatever bounty that's said on it, and you unlock the trials ornament for that weapon. Instead of paying real money for it, you grind the weapon to be able to unlock the ornament for it. Now, currently, another thing that we currently have going, which is a very good thing, and I will say is we've been had double XP weeks for like long time in the game, but the double rewards week, I know that was a thing just specifically for Nightfalls, but it has made its way over to Crucible, which is a very good thing, especially in the idea of for trials. You can double down and get more weapons when you get rewarded in the game. And I think that's a very good move that we have kind of moved towards now. I hope that's something that they can do for the Gambit side of things and just make it a thing towards all the ritual activities. But honestly, I do think they need to be a little bit more transparent with letting us know when those weeks come up or when those are gonna happen in the game, and you know, kind of just be more, give more communication about it. So this is another thing that has come from Destiny 1. Strike Pacific loot. Strike Pacific loot needs to be a thing. We have basically said from Destiny 1, and I'm pretty sure they've heard it many times, we want to wear what we kill in the game. So even if it's like a legendary armor piece, or if it's a weapon that represents a particular enemy, particular type of enemy that we've killed, we need to have strike specific loot. With all the battlegrounds and things of that nature that are in the game, previous strikes, we can come up with some themed loot that would be able to chase, maybe with some particular perks on it or anything like that that may not be found anywhere else in the game, and that would really make it more viable for to play Vanguard, because you want to play that particular strike to be able to get your hands on that said weapon that's from that boss. Another thing here, for rewards, Artifice Armor. I think Artifice Armor should not only be specific to dungeons. I know that's what makes the dungeons special, to rerun them when they come around in the rotator, but I feel like things like GMs, trials should have their own version of Artifice Armor. Now, in regards to the Crucible, I think a more beneficial thing for the Crucible side of thing, let that additional mod slot be able for you to slot additional unflinching mods or additional energy weapon mods for reserves or anything like that. I think that could be more viable for the Crucible side of things. But yeah, these are respective in-game content for that respective ritual playlist, so why not give us another source to get Artifice Armor? This is another thing that I've kind of talked about in some previous videos, is making the armor for these ritual activities matter, and basically meaning that adding origin traits to the armor that benefits the activity. Prime example, an example I would give would be GMs, for example. So if you know or may not know, GMs have a 45-minute timer. If you don't complete it in 45 minutes, you pretty much get kicked. I think, from my understanding, you get kicked from the activity. I've never hit that mark. And I know some players will say, well, if you're taking that long in a GM, then, your build is not right, blah, blah, blah. You can't speak for everybody, man. Sometimes you got to speak for those new players that are just getting into the game. It may not be very keen to knowing how GMs work, and it may take them some time to get through it. So maybe even on the armor pieces, we have a perk for maybe like an increased time limit if you wear multiple pieces of Vanguard armor, or say, for example, if you're wearing multiple pieces of Vanguard armor, or your fire team is wearing multiple sets of Vanguard armor, you guys get additional revives, extra revives in GMs to make that armor more viable. On top of that, to add to that on the armor side of things, ritual armor, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever sat there and tried to focus. I've tested it with Crucible, and it's nowhere near how easy it is to get armor with high stats like it is in the helm. Over in the tower, it is super hard to get a high stat roll on any type of ritual armor that's available through Gambit, through Shax, and through Vanguard. It is really hard to pop a high stat armor piece from those respective vendors. And I think that's something that needs to be tweaked to make it more viable, because at this point it's like, why give us legacy armor just for drip purposes when it really has zero meaning from a stat perspective. So, and the last thing I want to touch on with rewards is, if you remember from Destiny 1, when you would play Vanguard, strange coins were kind of the thing that you were really playing that playlist for, because you knew when Xur showed up on Friday that you could only get your exotic that you were looking for, or maybe there was a chance he was selling the exotic that you didn't have, and strange coins was the way to get that particular exotic that you wanted, and hoping that he carried something that you didn't have. Now, what I'm saying here is, I think with Vanguard, and I talked about in the beginning of this, that the rewards with exotic Ingrams, that's not enticing enough for players to want to jump into. And I think that this is just my idea, and these numbers can be adjusted in any way possible. But I think that rewards should be, and these rewards I'm going to go over right now, should be, one time per character per week. So if you got 3 characters, you can do this 3 times and get these rewards. So I think we should get, like, for example, like 1 ascendant shard, maybe like 5 enhancement cores, 3 enhancement prisms, even go into getting like the what's the stuff that 801 uses for the ornaments, being able to get like occurrence like 100 of those to be able to unlock a ornament over that you don't have or that you want, instead of having to do the bounty from 801. Maybe getting like 100 bright dust, and then a guaranteed, whatever the weapon is for that particular ritual playlist, a guaranteed drop for it, because a lot of the drops for some of those weapons are not always guaranteed that are on that particular vendor that they have for that particular season. Well, in seasons that we have now. So a guaranteed drop for that weapon, so you have better chances of trying to get the role that you want when you complete it. And I think that would be more rewarding when you get those type of drops for those activities. It would make it more rewarding because, even if you're not farming for a particular weapon or role, you're getting materials that are viable to masterworking and doing builds and all of that, or being able to, get your drip game up. You got bright dust you can buy, say for example, doing 3 characters with getting, say, 100 bright dust. You can buy a shader that you don't have that may be offered in the weekly for Eververse or something like that. So I think it just makes it the currency more feasible for you to go do and get stuff in the game to better customize your character. So now that we've gone out of rewards, let's talk about the modes individually and kind of talk about how we can make these individual modes better. Let's talk about the forgotten redheaded stepchild that is Gambit, with a lot of the, shall I say, the really bad received state of the game that we had. There was really no look or horizon for Gambit. And just to talk about as far as ways to make Gambit better. So first thing and foremost, let's bring back the vaulted maps. Gambit needs maps to survive and to be, even just to be a little different, to freshen it up. Bring back those maps that have been vaulted, those areas. Let's bring those back. I would even go as far as bring back what Prime had, which is bring back the roles in the game, like, and let it be tied to the armor sets. So like, give the armor sets for Gambit specifically, give them origin traits, just like weapons have origin traits, where you can, make it more viable in the activity, and to give people like advantages for wearing armor in the game and making the armor viable to want to wear in the game, except for, drip purposes. But I don't really see a whole lot of people wearing Gambit armor around the game. So I would say, aside from killing taken in the mode itself. I would probably even add some different mechanics into Gambit aside from just kill ads, dunk most, rinse and repeat. I would say even allowing the opposing team, being able to lock down the bank by a certain mechanic that you have to do to unlock the bank, and along with fighting enemies. Now, I know people complain about with Prime being too long and stuff like that, but I feel like if you make it more of a competition to do certain things, certain mechanics fast, not only just killing enemies, I think that would make the mode feel a little better, more refresh. So other things, increase enemy density. Also, we've shown in Battlegrounds that they can do bigger enemy density in the game. Cosmodrome Battleground is a prime example of that. I would say even with I can't think of what they're called, but they glow like white and they carry a lot of motes when you kill them. I would say replace those with champions in the game, where you have to load up, because the champion system, whether a lot of people like it or not, it changed the game for Destiny. And I think Gambit would benefit from having, didn't have to be champions all over the place, but like champions around here and there that can really like change the trajectory of the game itself, and a team that was losing could kill a champion and could really help them, take the lead. You got to make it more competitive because it's teams going against one another. Other things I would say, as you go from area to area in Gambit, how about increasing in difficulty for each, as you go from each area? Start off as far as the difficulty, kind of at their level, and as you go higher and higher, you get closer and closer to hitting the amount of motes you need to battle the primeval. Those mobs get harder, and I feel like people wouldn't be able to burn through mobs and enemies so fast, and it'll be a little bit more strategic of how they do that. So all right, so let's talk Vanguard Ops. So Vanguard Ops, same thing goes as it was with Gambit. Vaulted maps need to return to the game. We need more variety. We need more variety in regards to Grandmasters, Nightfalls, things of that nature. Those maps, those particular strikes need to return to the game. And also, the ones they're going to bring back and rework that the community just en masse didn't like, bring those back as well. I think Vanguard needs a customs, with Bungie being the creator of Halo, when we used to have the skull systems in Halo to kind of make your difficulty what you want to make it when you're going back into the game for replay. I think doing a Vanguard customs list, being able to have access to every single modifier that is in the game in strikes, and being able to turn those on and off and manipulate those how you want to, and kind of say challenge yourself to see how hard can you make it, or how can you, basically challenging yourself, doing custom, doing private Vanguard strikes, and modifying it to see if you can speed, especially for like the speed runners. So another thing, doing like a Vanguard time trials mode with a leaderboard in game, and as you go through the strikes, you get increased difficulty. Upon completion, you can do something like the coil reward room for Vanguard time trials. So you get medals, of course, which that's already there. Put it on a time, basically you have a timer, and the further you get, the bigger the reward. And it's similar to coil, but you're running through the strike system and running through the strikes. Another thing that I thought about too for Vanguard Ops is bringing back the Daybreak modifier. For those who are not familiar, Daybreak modifier, look at it more like Mayhem in strikes for the most part. Abilities and supers, all that stuff, all your ability energy recharges way faster. I mean, that could just be something fun to be able to have in the game. Imagine having that on Nightfalls, let's say, having Daybreak weekends where you get to run through GMs with very high ability regen and just kind of like blazing through and, being able to, it's a little advantage for those who may not have the best build or anything like that. It's just something to think about to kind of spice up the Vanguard Ops playlist. All right, so let's talk PvP. So with PvP, I feel like we're moving somewhat in a good direction with PvP as far as what we have going and coming into the future. I feel like checkmate modifier has been a very good addition that they've been experimenting with in the game. I feel like that for those who want more real more gunplay focus on the primary side and less special and less abilities in the gameplay of PvP, I think that's a good modifier to have, and it's been received very well, especially by a lot of the PvP mains. The map pack that's coming in the spring, another good move. We need to have the consistency of the maps is what we need to keep things fresh, and that's gonna be a thing across all modes. All the ritual playlists need the map love just as a whole. It just can't, something that just can't be dropped or turned to the wayside or anything like that. I feel like, I know we have private matches in PvP, but I feel like we need like a PvP customs, kind of like an engine that allows the PvP community the tools to be able to build their own modes. This will take some of the stress off of Bungie for Crucible Labs and them coming up with modes that are like a hit miss sometimes with the community, and let the community come up with their own games. And if there's something that hits, they can see the data that they're seeing that, oh, they're playing this mode that has this and this modifier and this, you know, these mechanics or whatever the case may be. Okay, let's make that an actual mode. They're receiving this very well, and you can let the community kind of drive, in a sense, the direction where we can get some more modes in the game. Another thing, I think we really do need a party mode in the game, or just a party playlist of PvP modes, and not all of the stuff that we have in the game. I feel like it needs to be, I feel like it's just being drip fed into the game week by week. Just dump it in the game, let people choose. I know they don't want to segment the community, but certain people like playing certain modes. Let those people play those modes that they want to play. And then also do a playlist where it's like a party list where it's those modes all wrapped into one, and you can just play it. It will pick. Another thing, and I don't know why it's not a thing, and it was a Halo 3 thing. Give us map voting. Like, just do it. Give us map voting, and it'll definitely help with a lot of the, you know, the certain maps that people don't like, things of that nature. Just bring in map voting. It's a feature that we've been asking for years in the game, and we don't understand why it's not a thing when it was a thing in Halo 3 and, you know, in Halo in general. So map voting, just give it to us. That's the biggest easiest thing we can say. But as far as all in all PvP right now, it's really a wait and see. It's really, out of the three ritual playlists, it's the only out of the three that's kind of getting some love. We haven't heard anything for Vanguard. Of course, like I said before, Gambit got nothing. So, I mean, it's going to be really a wait and see. We're kind of moving in a decent direction, but we have to see what these maps look like. Are they going to be received by the PvP community and with open arms, or are they going to be hated? We have to wait and see on all of that and stuff. So Guardian, so this is going to bring the video to a close for the ritual playlist improvements. Let me know what you guys thought about the things I suggested. Do you think it should work? What do you guys think? Maybe you guys have some alternate ideas. Let's blow this video up to get it seen and known, and see if we can get some of these improvements put in the game. But with all that being said, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your time. And please make sure you guys smash the subscribe button if you have not already. And give the video a thumbs up, because that really would help push the video more to more people in the Destiny community. So, hey, so we can possibly, you know, get some of these improvements put into the game to make these modes more viable for us to want to play in the future, especially with, you know, us being so close to the final shape. So